Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Thursday, April 2nd, 2026 meeting of the Board of Carroll County Commissioners. As always, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So up first on our agenda for today, we have Priority Carroll, and Commissioner Krebs, I believe we begin with you this week.
Thank you all. I missed it last week, so I have a little bit extra this week to catch up on. And I think we have some photos there. But the last couple of weeks, I've had some great honors to participate in some activities that are very fun. This is a picture in Howard County. You say, why am I putting Howard County up here? That is the chairman of my former committee. I served with her for 16 years. Her husband and Senator West is in the back. He served on that committee as well. She is a Democrat from Howard County. She was a councilman, and then she became a delegate, and she was our chairman of the Health and Government Operations Committee, and she retired. But she did so much work and was so passionate about things that, are they going to flip? Flip the pictures. Oh, there it is. It's the Shane Pendergrass Health Center. And the reason I bring this up, there's Calvin Ball. It was the day that we were having the tornadoes, and they had to close everything down, and the Speaker of the House was supposed to come. There's our Dylan Goldberger. Dylan was our committee staff. He was like a youngster when he started. Now he's worked his way up, works for the governor. But I just wanted to show that even though you go to Annapolis, and we're Republicans, Democrats, and philosophically many things we disagree on, but there's a lot of things we get done. A lot gets done. In the committee, in my committee, the Health Committee, we did a tremendous amount of work. And Senator West was on the committee with me before he became a senator, and Senator Reedy was on that committee as well, and I think Delegate Rose was on there as well. So we have respect for the things that we're able to get done, which is a lot. And so I just wanted to show her. She was very surprised. She doesn't like surprises, but I think she was touched about this because it was the health center, and that's been the focus of her attention for a long time. So I just wanted to show that bipartisanship is always there when it can be achieved, and we appreciate that. The next thing we went to quickly is the Light of the Carroll Awards up at the Fireside on Main up in Hampstead. The Light of Carroll Awards presented by the Carroll County Library. It was a very well-attended event from all over supporting our libraries. This is just one picture. There's our former Commissioner Steve Wance and our Community College President, Rose Pence, and then Andrew Bursler and Ms. Campanella, who used to be the president of the board. And a lot of people were nominated for awards, or many people deserving, but it was nice to acknowledge all the work and the volunteers that participate in our library system all over the county. So that was, this is an Eagle Scout. Then I got to go to an Eagle Scout ceremony for Rance, whoop, that's the wrong one. Oh, Rain Nichols Olson, and he had his ceremony at Holy Spirit Lutheran Church. He's an Eagle Scout. One of my favorite things to do. I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of Eagle Scouts over the years, and you just want these youth to understand the significance of what they've accomplished in their Eagle project and just what they've done to get to the point of an Eagle Scout. And I just found out that our very own Ted Zaleski is an Eagle Scout. He's not here. I don't want to embarrass him. It is a big accomplishment, so I tried to find time for that. But when I got there, I found out he was actually Commissioner Guerin's constituent. But he had the function in my district. But he had his project. I don't want to get the project mixed up. I won't mention the project because I don't want to get it mixed up. But we do honor them. He put together a whole booklet about all of his accomplishments. And I've always said when I was a legislator and we gave out a lot of scholarship awards, I never had an Eagle Scout that did not get a scholarship, because just by the things that they do with their service and all of their training and all the things that they do to even become an Eagle Scout makes them good candidates for scholarships, and I've never had one that did not get a scholarship. So that was that, and what's one more picture? Oh, then we all, I think, went to our local fire department banquets, and we're always reminding people as we've shifted to paid EMS, paid ambulance service, and some paid fire. We still have our volunteer systems all over the county. The buildings that we work out of, they have maintained, they've been passed on from generations. And I mentioned, this is a picture I let everybody look at. This is our Women's Auxiliary. Our volunteers have dwindled, and they've aged for many reasons in many organizations. But this is who raises the money for the fire departments. A lot of other help, but this is like the base of it. And these women have been around for decades, and I've watched them age, and there's not a lot of new rank coming in because people are busy working and raising their families. But these are the backbone of what lets those volunteer fire departments exist. They run the carnivals, they run the bingos, they run the dances, they run it all, and with a lot of volunteers. But obviously, you can see, I think this is the same at most fire departments. So anybody wants to get involved, it's a great way to spend your time and be part of the community. So that was their 92nd birthday, 92 years. I've been to 100th at Gamber. So our volunteer fire departments have come up from our community over the years, and I just wanted to make sure people understood that there's still volunteers out there. They still need our support. They still need our contributions because they still pay for all the buildings and all the fire trucks. They're pretty expensive. We just found out the fire trucks are up to $2 million a piece. So one more, I'll let some others talk about some of this, but we spent all Tuesday, all day, with our delegation from DC. Senator Van Hollen was there, and Senator Alsobrooks was supposed to be there, but she was not able to make it. And then our Congressman Olszewski, and they made the rounds in Carroll County, passing out, they used to call them earmarks, now we call them community initiatives. And I really believe that they have vetted these projects very well and made good investments. And we did some a few weeks ago, and that what they chose, these aren't bridges to nowhere. These are good projects. And I think the vetting process has changed in Congress, which it needed to. And there's a very specific criteria, and they make you have matching money. So it was the Community College Youth Service Bureau. This is at the Community College for our Workforce Development Project. There they are there. There's the president of the college, and this is our head of our Workforce Development, and they call themselves Team Maryland, but they made very wise investments here in Carroll, and I think they want to continue because they see the good work that we do here in Carroll County with our nonprofits and leveraging and putting our skin in the game with volunteers and with our own resources. It's not just some idea in the sky. We have it down pat. So that was a very great day, and everyone was there and appreciated their coming to visit us.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Krebs. Commissioner Guerin?
Yeah, good morning, Carroll County. Just a couple of brief comments, and I understand that young man is he's at South Carroll High School as well. So a lot of South Carroll pride in the county, and always proud of a fellow Cavalier. So go Cavs. And thank you for mentioning the banquet you attended over the weekend as well. I was over at the Winfield Community Volunteer Fire Company banquet on Saturday night, and you very eloquently stated what our volunteer fire companies are doing for us, but the challenges they're experiencing as well, the ongoing support from this board, but the undying respect and appreciation for what those volunteer fire companies do. As many of you know in the audience, volunteer and community are widely used words in today's society, and sometimes they're a bit overused and a bit misstated, but when it comes to your volunteer fire companies and what folks like you are doing, it is truly volunteers trying to make a community better, and that couldn't be more true about your volunteer fire companies. So everybody who's associated with them, and this board will continue to do everything we can to support them as well. So I really appreciate you mentioning that, and I think just about all of us were attending some banquet or function over the past couple of weeks for our volunteer fire companies. And lastly, I want to wish everybody a happy Easter, and that is all from me.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Guerin. Commissioner Gordon?
Thank you. I'm going to be brief this morning. I just want to mention a visit we had on Tuesday, which was Senator Van Hollen, Representative Johnny Olszewski, and of course Senator Alsobrooks was to be in attendance, but unfortunately was not able to make it. Representative Olszewski was up here back in January. Always good to see when we can work together as a community, and it was great to see federal funding coming back to a number of Carroll County organizations. It was roughly $3.7 million that has been coming into Carroll County. $1.1 million is going to the city of Westminster for a first ever Maryland water reuse program. So that's incredibly exciting. I know some people would think that's not, but we have a long history in this community of having challenges with water and drought. So that is going to be very important, and obviously as a first ever in the state, that's quite a place for us to lead by example, and I'm looking forward to seeing that accomplished. I know that I think the walls just went over up on the project. They were saying that Tuesday morning. Also, we had McDaniel College, which received $830,000, which will help with their nursing program. So seriously in need of a lot of nurses, not only in our community, but nationally as well. So just absolutely wonderful to see that ability and have them to have some of the best training available because of that. Carroll County Youth Service Bureau received, I believe it was about $1 million as well. This is to help with the building expansion. Again, just, great organizations that we have in the community. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, Carroll Community College received $850,000 towards their Applied Technology and Training Center. Again, just great organizations. And the thing is, it's an opportunity for us all to work together. It's not about politics. It's about community and getting things accomplished. I know the majority of us were able to attend at least one or some of those functions. I think I was at all of them all day, and I think Commissioner Krebs was as well. But just good to see the community turn out. And we had a lot of individuals from a lot of the community organizations that turned out as well for these. And truly just awesome to see what we can do together when we find common ground and do what we do best, which is working together. And that's all for me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Kyler?
Okay, I'll start off with a personal note. My middle son, Tommy, today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Tommy.
Happy birthday.
And I'll just piggyback on the congressman and the two senators. Great to see them in Carroll County. Anytime they can visit Carroll County is awesome, and it's even greater when they bring money. And it was a great crowd. It was a great diverse crowd that showed up to greet them. So that was super. We had Veterans Advisory yesterday, Tuesday afternoon, and that was a good meeting. Probably at least an hour because there was a lot of discussion. And again, I encourage any veterans, anybody that represents any veterans organization to attend those meetings. And then, of course, we're excited to be working on budget almost every day, and we'll get done, right?
Absolutely.
Did you say we were
Thank
excited
you.
about that?
We'll be
I'd
excited
use
when it's over.
a different word to describe it.
Oh, I think it's
We
exciting.
need all the optimism we can get.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kyler. I just have a couple of things myself as well this morning. So obviously I want to associate myself with all the comments that my colleagues have made already about the congressional visit that we received earlier this week. There are so many important and crucial places of common ground that we do share with our friends across the aisle. And one of them is helping local governments, groups, organizations, and nonprofits in their efforts to secure funding for their operations. And in some cases, it's opposing federal overreach, such as with the power lines, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But again, along with all of my colleagues, I'm incredibly grateful for the time that Congressman Olszewski, Senator Van Hollen, and the members of their staff spent in Carroll this week. Second, I'm also going to associate with the earlier comments of my colleagues as well. I had the pleasure of attending the Union Bridge Fire Company banquet this past weekend in Union Bridge. I'm still waiting on some photos from that event, and I'll certainly share those as soon as I have them. But as always, it's a wonderful time. And it really goes to the heart of the matter that our combination volunteer career fire and EMS system cannot exist without our volunteers. It's why we help to fund our volunteer companies and why we support them in their quest for additional funding from other sources, such as the federal government. There really is a love of community and service among our volunteers, and it's readily apparent in what they do. And of note at Union Bridge Fire Company, Archie Jones, who also happens to be the brother of the mayor, surpassed an incredible lifetime milestone of over 6,000 calls for service. 6,000. He is a stellar model and example of what it means to be a volunteer, and we are grateful to have him. And lastly, as I'm sure many of you have seen online or in the papers, PSEG representatives were once again out doing their survey work for the MPRP power lines, and a federal judge ordered federal marshals to escort those doing the work onto a certain property. And while we certainly understand the frustration with PSEG, they have been uncommunicative, disdainful, condescending, and cruel.
We want to stress that we want to remain peaceful in the pursuit of our rights and in our opposition to the project. We are not them. The fight against this power line is going to play out before the Public Service Commission. It's going to play out in court, and we are not going to rest in those endeavors. And as we've all recently learned, PSEG likes to throw things at everybody last minute. We found out this past week that their access roads are going to be wider. The towers are now going to be nearly 200 feet tall in some places, and they're going to demand even more land for pole pads, which is how they get the lines up into the towers. But again, our fight as a whole community will be moral, legal, and peaceful, all in the proper channels. We are in this together, and Sheriff DeWeese and his command staff demonstrated their own commitment to our community against the power lines by personally ensuring that everything was in order when it came to this most recent survey that made the headlines. And having spoken to the sheriff, I want to be very clear, please do remain peaceful. If you have doubts or concerns when it comes to PSEG showing up at your property or what they're saying, call the sheriff. He will personally come out and see to things. And additionally, make sure to let us know, because if there are any irregularities or concerns that you have, we want to make sure to be able to take those things up procedurally and legally. And we can't do that if you do not let us know that these things are occurring. Again, we are all in this together, and we are going to get through this together. And last but not least, to all of our Jewish brothers and sisters who celebrate, happy Passover. And I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, so I apologize for it, but I'm going to try. Chag Pesach Sameach. All right, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. And to all of our fellow Christian brothers and sisters, happy Easter. Jesus Christ is risen, and God bless everybody. And also of note, Tim wins the Easter tie contest. So up next, we have Ms. Jennifer Graybill. Happy to meet you, and please come on up and say hello to everybody. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you guys so much for having us today. So I am Jenny Graybill, and I am the new CEO for Human Services Programs of Carroll County. And I have with me our board president, Lisa Garexis, and she's here joining to show support. And so I just want to take a few minutes to say hello, tell you a little bit about me, our agency, and then let you guys continue with your day. So HSP is Carroll County's Community Action Agency. We have been in our community for almost 40 years. We are here to provide hope, change, and opportunity by mobilizing our entire community in the fight against poverty. We are incredible partners with Carroll County government, and we love working with everyone here. Because of your support, we're able to provide robust, dynamic homeless services to our community and really take care of our most vulnerable. So I have actually been employed by HSP for 21 years. I have done many of the jobs in the agency, and our mission, our spirit is very much my heart and soul. I am distinctly honored to be in front of you to sit as a CEO and run this organization, because every day our entire staff gets to get up and change the world and make Carroll County better and stronger. And I am so excited to continue our mission and to continue our partnership. So like I said, because of the services and the support we receive, we have incredible homeless services. And then we take those services and we build on top of them. And we provide additional services to really help create thriving community members, because we don't just want to stop at homelessness. We want to either prevent it or end it. So we have braided over 17 different programs to really help create thriving community members. And so our services in a nutshell are basically, we serve over 7,000 people every single year in Carroll County. So most low-income individuals at some point in time come through our doors. About 5,000 of those individuals come through for energy assistance. So those are monthly grants to help people stay housed. Most of those individuals are seniors or disabled individuals. About 2,000 of those individuals are shelter, housing, and our additional core programming components. Every year, we serve about 600 men, women, and children who are homeless at one point in Carroll County. Over 400 of those men, women, and children are in our shelters every single year. On top of that, we prevent over 350 people from becoming homeless every year with security deposits, eviction prevention, and water turnoff bills. And then in addition to that, over 100 people are in housing programs throughout our community so that they remain housed and not homeless. So it's a very brief view of our services. And so I want to kind of end by talking just a little bit about our new family shelter. So we finished a mural you guys didn't get to see it during the open house, but we actually had a community artist come in and do a new mural in our building. And it's a beautiful scene. We had it on Facebook this week. And the artist was a former homeless child in our shelter. Actually, some of our staff that are now managers was support staff when he was in our shelter. And we remembered his mom. I actually had the opportunity to work with her because we've been there that long. And he came in and did the mural. And you can see it right there. And so that is a gorgeous representation of family, Carroll County, and the pride and the resilience that we want all of our family members to have when they enter our doors and when they leave our shelter. And I got the chance to talk to him as he was working on the mural. And he just was standing there, kind of in awe of the entire building. And he said, I wish this was here when I was a kid, because he was shared that he was so ashamed of being in shelter when he was a child and how he hid it. He would actually go to his old bus stop at his former house so that no one would know where he was going. And he's like, but this place is incredible. And that sentiment was echoed. We got to move our 7 families into the new shelter on Tuesday. And the parents were walking through and either could not speak because they were in such shock or they were crying. Mm-hmm. And we got to stay there the whole day and watch the kids come back from school and run through the building and stand outside and play kickball and volleyball and just be kids and be normal. And that was not the old facility. And so the normalcy that this new building gives and the chance for a new life and a better life. And when you give people and when you show people what you believe they can be, that changes who they are. And that gift is because of your commitment to our community. So I wanted to share a little bit about that, say thank you for all of your support, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much for coming in. Welcome. Thank you for your own commitment to the community, and God bless you all for everything that you do.
Thank
I
you
just
guys
have
so
one
much.
question for you.
Absolutely.
I have more, but I'm going to ask one.
Any of
The students that come there, do they have to change schools to come there?
No, they will stay in the same schools.
And they just get transported?
Yes.
And do
we
they want
have-
to do that?
Yes. Yeah, so it's actually something we coordinate very closely with Carroll County Public Schools directly to make sure that the bus comes right by the shelter, and then we'll take them to really the schools that they started in when they came. So let's say they came from Eldersburg or Tawnytown, they could, if they wanted to, stay in those schools as well.
But they also could stay in the local school if they
Exactly,
choose. So-
and then stay in those local schools
good.
as well. And then they also have the support of the PPWs that will make sure that the transition goes well, they have everything they need, absolutely. So that was kind of next when we coordinated the building, was making sure that the buses were there and all that good stuff. So yes, absolutely.
Good work.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to make a comment before I read this because I got to see the pictures of the mural a couple of days ago. I know who the artist is. I didn't know all those details though, but I do know him. So what a full circle moment to have that experience for him. That's just incredible. For anybody wondering, look around Westminster specifically, but definitely Carroll County. You'll see some of his work. I'm not going to name them here this morning, but wow, just what an incredibly powerful moment to have that. I can't even imagine the thoughts and feelings he was having doing that.
Yep. And Commissioner Gordon, I believe you now have a
I
proclamation.
do, but I'll tell you, I had to make that comment first because that just really hit here in the details. So we have a proclamation. I'm sorry.
Do we
Different thing.
want to do a photo
Oh wait,
first?
okay.
Yeah.
I'm reading two different things. Sorry.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Wouldn't it?
It wasn't me
I was
jumping-
too focused
it wasn't
on the
me
mural.
jumping this week.
We don't have a secret way of communicating when we're up here, everybody. It's, what you see is what you get.
That's right. We don't practice this in
Yeah.
advance. No dress rehearsals.
These two ladies are
Sorry.
teach me how to properly.
Oh, we're getting it out.
At least one of us.
Are we?
Oh, we are.
Mine's decaf, so it doesn't help you. Okay.
Now Commissioner Gordon has a
Yeah.
proclamation.
Take two. So, first I'll ask, does anyone want to come up to the table regarding the proclamation, or should I just go ahead?
Someone's got to come up.
Yeah.
National Child Abuse
You're looking for
Prevention Month.
volunteers.
Colonel Baker, maybe, you want to come up?
Got somebody from
Let's
the,
not leave us all hanging.
Thank you for having.
Morning,
Absolutely.
gentlemen.
Morning.
morning.
So just to let you know, I'm Detective Corporal Corey Vandegrift. I'm with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. I'm over at our Carroll County Child Advocacy Center. I wanted to just speak a little bit in reference to Child Abuse Prevention Month. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office is committed to prioritizing the safety, well-being, and recovery of abused children in Carroll County. The Carroll County Child Advocacy Center, located at 1232 Tech Court, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, is one of only 3 child advocacy centers in Maryland with a dedicated law enforcement unit focused on child protection. To give you a better understanding of the cases we see, here are a few statistics from 2025. We had 434 victim contacts, 271 investigations, roughly 2,619 case hours, 69 search warrants, and 18 arrests. Of those 271 cases, 13 of those were rape investigations, 76 were sex offenses, to include child sex abuse, 32 were child physical abuse, 7 were assist other agencies, 32 were miscellaneous, and we had 111 National Center for Missing and Exploited Children or child sex abuse material investigations. We at the Carroll County Child Advocacy Center recognize that when a child experiences abuse, the way we as first responders respond can shape their healing process and their trust in the justice system. This is why trauma-informed police investigations are essential in child abuse cases. Trauma-informed investigations are crucial when dealing with child abuse, either sexual or physical, because they prioritize the well-being and safety of the child while seeking justice. Children who experience abuse often carry deep emotional and psychological scars, and how they are questioned and supported during an investigation can significantly impact their recovery. A trauma-informed approach ensures that investigators understand the child's emotional state, use age-appropriate language, and create a safe, supportive environment where the child feels comfortable sharing their experiences. We don't keep statistics on disclosure. Our focus is on creating a safe environment for children to speak freely about their experience and what brought them to the Carroll County Child Advocacy Center. By minimizing re-traumatization, this approach helps preserve the integrity of the investigation and increases the likelihood of obtaining accurate and reliable information. It also fosters trust between the child and investigators, which is essential for effective communication and building a foundation for healing. Above all, trauma-informed investigations recognize that the child's emotional and psychological needs are just as important as the legal process, ensuring both justice and compassion are at the forefront of every case. Every child deserves justice, but justice should not come at the cost of further harm. We encourage and support survivors on their path to healing while holding perpetrators accountable. Wearing blue raises awareness that child abuse is preventable, promoting community involvement in protecting children. Why were pinwheels planted at the corner of Center Street and Court Street, some may ask, and the surrounding areas when you drive by? Pinwheels are a symbol of playfulness, joy, childhood, and positive cycles of love and support. And they are also the national symbol for child abuse prevention, representing the hope for safety and healthy childhoods for all children. Some may ask, why blue? To honor victims and symbolize the bruises and injuries sustained by abused children. The tradition started in 1989 when Virginia grandmother Bonnie Finney tied a blue ribbon to her car antenna in memory of her grandson who died from abuse, intending it as a constant reminder to fight for protection. But more importantly, why the blue ribbon? The blue ribbon represents the tragic, bruised bodies of children and serves as a call to action to our community. Lastly, I want to thank our multidisciplinary team, comprised of members from the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Westminster Police Department, Maryland State Police, Springboard Community Services, Child Protective Services, Care Healing Center, the Forensic Nurses at Carroll Hospital Center, the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office Special Victims Unit, for all the work to support the safety and well-being of the children in Carroll County. We are also blessed in Carroll County to have various other nonprofit agencies or resources available to residents of our community for their healing and mental well-being. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Seth Giller, and I'm the Chief of the Special Victims Unit at the State's Attorney's Office. And I want to echo some of the things that Corporal Vandergriff said, which is, you see behind me all the people who are here. That's the team that we have in Carroll County when child abuse occurs and when child abuse is disclosed. I think every community wants to believe that child abuse doesn't exist in their community. Child abuse is here. It's a crime that happens in the dark. Physical and sexual child abuse are things that can go on for years, decades, without being disclosed. And the purpose of having this team that is behind me is that from the time that a child discloses until the time of prosecution, if it should go to trial, this team stands together from the beginning. From the time that a child reports, an investigator from the Child Advocacy Center is assigned to the case. The child is brought in often for a forensic interview. We have dedicated forensic interviewers who, in the most trauma-informed way, interview these children about some of the most traumatic events that are imaginable. They're hooked up with services immediately. They're greeted, they're provided with resources for therapy, that's trauma therapy, that's ongoing therapy as well, through Springboard Community Services, through Care Healing Center. They can go for a forensic examination at Carroll Hospital Center, where Tracy Yingling and her amazing team of forensic nurse examiners will, again, in a trauma-informed way, look over that child to find, most importantly, that they're safe, but also to find if there are any injuries. From that point on, everybody continues to be involved. The therapy services, the services that are offered by our community partners continue through prosecution. When my office gets a case, our initial thought is, what is the most trauma-informed way to proceed? And we're making sure that throughout the process, the children and their families know that they're supported. And the people behind me stand together with my office at every step of the way. Testifying in a trial against a parent or a caretaker through many years of experience is not fun. It is not a good experience. What we do is try to provide the most support to make it the least traumatic experience. Again, the people behind me, when we are doing trial preparation, we are visiting the courtroom. There's a mini replica of a courtroom that is at the Child Advocacy Center so that we can go through and show this is where everybody's going to be seated. We want to make this the least traumatic possible, and I'm very fortunate to work with all of the partners behind me in making sure that that happens.
Well, thank you both very much. Commissioner Gordon?
Okay, so I have a proclamation for National Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2026. Whereas April is designated as National Child Abuse Awareness Month, highlighting the importance of families and communities working together to prevent child abuse and neglect. And throughout April, Carroll County will go blue for kids, highlighting the needs of child victims of abuse. The county will host Wear Blue Fridays and plant blue pinwheel gardens on lawns across Carroll County, each pinwheel symbolizing child abuse prevention and, more importantly, represents the safe and carefree childhood that we want every child in our county. And Carroll County's future quality of life depends on the safe and healthy development of children living in communities throughout our county. Carroll County aims to raise awareness about child abuse prevention and provide support for children who have experienced abuse, and effective child abuse prevention and support efforts for child victims and their families succeed through partnerships among local law enforcement, human service agencies, legal experts, healthcare providers, mental health professionals, and other organizations dedicated to improving the lives of children. And Maryland has enacted laws to protect the rights of child victims and provide essential services. Our public and private sectors must continue to work together to maintain and improve programs and legislation that benefit these vulnerable young individuals. And Carroll County calls on all citizens, community agencies, medical and mental health providers, elected officials, schools, and businesses to collaborate with the Carroll County Advocacy Center. Together, we can support our child victims of maltreatment, prevent child abuse, and strengthen our community. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating themselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all, adopted the second day of April 2026, signed the Board of Carroll County Commissioners.
Now, would you like to make any introductions of anybody you have with you?
I did want to just make one comment.
Please.
One more comment I forgot since Child Protective Services representative wasn't able to come up with me today. If anybody in the community listening, or if you could pass this on, if you suspect any type of child abuse or sexual abuse or anything along those lines, Child Protective Services phone number is 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can call anonymously. You're an anonymous referent. The phone number is 410-386-3434. Even if you have just suspicions, Child Protective Services will take your call, will take a referral, and will continue the investigation to figure out if there's a crime or not, or if Child Protective Services can assist with needs. But again, that phone number is 410-386-3434. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this is just a reminder to all our mandated reporters, teachers, medical staff, law enforcement, etc. That phone number should be in your phone. That's all.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for what you do. I could not even begin to imagine how much courage and how much capacity that it has to take to be able to deal with something so horrifying, but so necessary for the victims who need the justice. And so thank you for what you do, and God bless you for what you do. Now,
I want to thank the two of you, the team that's here, and all the other people you represent. It takes a lot, and like you said, I can't imagine testifying and some of the things that they have to go through.
Agreed.
I do want to give some introductions here.
Please, yes.
We have Colonel Baker, we have Lieutenant Murray, we have Sergeant Prashinsky and Corporal Vandergrift, all from the Sheriff's Office. We have Child Protective Services, Department of Social Services. We have Tracy Yingling and her team of forensic nurse examiners. We have Stephanie, who is, as you all know, the executive director of Care Healing Center. We have Springboard Community Services. We have the dedicated investigators that are from Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Westminster Police Department, and the Maryland State Police. Everybody who's back here, the investigators that I have the opportunity to work with they make my job easier. The job is never going to be easy, but it's because the investigations and the support that each of them give to the cases that we're able to do things in the way that we do. And I'm very thankful for each of them.
Very well said. Well, shall we do a picture?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
We'll stay up here, I think.
Yeah, I
Bring
think-
bring everybody up.
Yeah, bring them all up.
Got it.
The little one right in the front in the middle. Good to see you. It was marvelous.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much.
How you doing?
Thank you for coming in. God bless you. Justin, good to see. Hey, you bringing in the cars over? Thank you. God bless, brother.
Take care.
I'm good, but thank you. Up next on our agenda, we have our weekly legislative update with Pam. Morning, Pam. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well as well, thank you. Always good to see you.
You as well. So today's update is relatively brief. We're at the end of session in the final weeks, and basically everything's just moving right along. So the unpaid personal property tax bill, I expect to pass the second chamber maybe even today. It's past second reading. All of the budget process is moving along where I hope to be able to confirm the projects that are going to be funded in the county by next week as everything's getting reconciled between the House and the Senate. But it looks like several of the projects that were presented earlier in the year by the delegation are in the capital budget. And I just don't want to speak too soon and get anyone excited until it's totally passed. But everything else is pretty much status quo from where we talked last week in terms of just awaiting for the opposite chamber consideration or trying to revive something last minute. A lot of the policy issues are moving along. You know, I'm sure you've heard some of the headlines about the election law bills and things that are moving along, but I've heard kind of behind the scenes that a lot of that is getting stuck because of redistricting, and that the House is amending all of the bills that they possibly can with the redistricting issues. So it'll be interesting to see if anything election related gets passed. As far as the relief energy bill, that also just has some discrepancies between the House and the Senate, and that's pretty much the same with many of the larger initiatives that are more complex, the more complex policy issues, and just even some of the smaller initiatives. It might have passed the House or the Senate, but now it's at the process where if it's not exactly the same, it'll go to conference committee. They'll reconcile the differences and hopefully be able to push something through. Really, that's about all I have at the moment. There's nothing else substantive. I've been putting all of the cross-filed testimony letters as they come about through, so that if you've weighed in on one side, you're weighing in on the other chamber as well. Staying in touch with our delegation and reaching out to them to make sure that they know that I'm here, that whatever else they need to push these final initiatives through, whether it's one of the things that you've prioritized or just something that they're working on. And we have one more full week after this week, and then sine die.
And you did some texts, and I think we saw some emails, the CTP letter. Everything's done on it, correct?
I believe so.
Yes.
Got there by yesterday, April Fool's Day. We got it there.
Yes. I know we were waiting till the 11th hour. I do a lot of texting everyone to remind them to respond to things. So same with the delegation. And I reached out to them a couple of times, but they finally did come through. I know they're busy. So yes, that was
And
taken care
listen,
of.
and next year, Chris is back there, make sure we send them the entire letter, not just a recap.
That was a clerical error.
Okay, no, I
in
just,
our office.
no, I understand, but just only because I
This
wouldn't,
had nothing to do with,
okay, no, I'm just, well, he's the one representing the office, I'm just making.
no, clerical error in our office.
Okay, all right, whatever, just send the whole letter, because, and I explained it to him, and he explained it in the letter, so the letter was very good. So a question about the operating budget past conference committee. right, the other night very quickly. It was very,
I believe so. I need to look at, yeah, I mean, I need to look
it
at
passed
the,
within like 2 minutes, and they didn't even
okay,
get
it was
time
in
to
2
read it.
minutes? Okay.
Well, they didn't even get the committee report to read it, but the updated fiscal note should come out of that soon.
Yes.
It just would be nice to know what happened in the conference committee, how it affects us. Usually they'll
Yes.
give you new lists of like the different budgets, like whether the Board of Ed budget was in there or whatever. But
Yes.
as soon as those lists come out, I don't know if we have.
I'll send it to you.
Send them to us so we can make sure, see how it affects our budget, because that's done. I mean, once conference committee's done, the governor's not, he's going to sign the bill. In the capital budget, is that finished yet? Is that to conference?
I think it's in conference.
Because you said our projects, I mean, normally that will not change our stuff.
Correct. I didn't want to speak before something was.
I don't even know what's in it, so maybe you can send us a list of what our,
Absolutely.
all the Carroll
Sure.
County requests.
Absolutely.
Because I'm looking for a couple of them.
Okay.
But that normally will not get changed.
Okay, I'll send you a list of the projects so you know where they are and which ones are in there. I always just like to, before I report, that it's
Well,
done.
it's
see
where it is in conference, unless somebody
Right.
really screws it up, those things will stay,
Yes.
should stay. Oh, one other question, and PSEG, we were talking about that earlier. Did anything come out, was there any discussions about any of the power line issues? Last year, there were a ton of bills, and was there anything this year?
There's a lot of that's getting stuck from my understanding. I know I had a conversation last week with Delegate Tomlinson on one of his bills, and everything is kind of frozen at the moment that I've seen. There's a couple of smaller measures that have a small chance, but a lot of things have gotten wrapped into that big relief act. So it's going to really come down to what form of that bill passes as to how it's going to impact the power lines, and I will definitely let you know.
Because one of the things I was asking the congressman the other day, and I don't know the answer, no one has the answer to this. Who controls FERC? Who has the say? They keep saying the Public Service Commission does, some people say FERC does. Who controls that? Who can make the decision? Because they've got, and I think we got to be doing it all on all angles. But some people think the Public Service Commission should say no down the road. Some people think they can't. Some people think FERC. Who tells FERC gives them direction? That's a federal regulatory commission. And I just was sharing with Commissioner Collar this article. The Office of People's Counsel, who is our friend, they help. They're supposed to represent the people, the ratepayers. Asked federal regulators to reject proposed cost recovery for the $1.1 billion in transmission projects. This is for something else. People need to remember, when you keep talking about all of this power line stuff, our ratepayers will be paying for. And we can't forget, it's not even built in yet. All this stuff that's gone up, it's not even in there yet. And they don't care how long it takes. They're going to get paid for it all, even if they never do it. So it all gets baked into the rates, all of this uncertainty, and the solution is not good. And I just saw Corporal Baker. They were called out on a call the other day, as I think you mentioned, about a property owner that's the marshals were on. It was interesting. The sheriff and Colonel Baker stayed out there while they were there because the property owners were pretty distraught, which they should be. In addition to the things that you mentioned. You know what they were looking for? You know what they care about? The bog turtles. They were there looking and digging to see if there was an environmental problem. And you just have to wonder if that's more important than our farmland, our crops, people's property values, but somehow it was bog turtles and something else. It was brown fish or something, and I'm like, where are our priorities? Brown trout, okay. Not that I don't like brown trout, but when I look at the destruction and the unnecessary destruction of farmland, and we have not a lot of it left and that's the priority, that we have to make sure those bog turtles are taken care of. It's sort of interesting. So, in addition to the fact that they could be higher, but I talked to, thank you for, I talked to your former boss, former Delegate Lisanti. I talked to her on Saturday finally.
Oh, great.
Because in Harford County, they had a problem with their power line, and they were looking at reconductoring. Now, they lost their case, but the whole reconductoring issue has not even been looked at for this power line, which means putting lines on existing lines. BG I don't think has ever even been approached about it. And it's like, could you do that? They have never offered an alternative, just alternative paths.
Right.
And they haven't offered an alternative product. And 20 years from now, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, we might not even need power lines. We're going to have other ways. So all of this is, I'm not sure why the legislature doesn't force some of the alternative, not just a path, which, where are you going to go, but all these other alternatives that are coming up. And to at least force them to put an alternative on the table, and they haven't. It's just all been about this one thing. And it's frustrating because,
No, it is. I mean, some simple things, like even one of Delegate Tomlinson's bills that talked about just notification for sites, like where the locations are, it is sort of stuck at the process at the moment. And Delegate Lasanti and I met with him last week when I was in Annapolis and discussed the possibility of trying to get an amendment that she was trying to get in the Senate version, also on the House version of the Relief Act, where everything's getting bundled in, just to even allow elected officials to know about site locations so that you're aware when something is, you know, in your area and can get engaged and involved in all of these different issues that you're talking about. And I don't know whether there'll be any movement on that or not, because the large relief vehicle, that bill, like, my understanding is it's very inflexible at this point. So I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of ways to get things passed, and some are more transparent than others, and some give more flexibility to address the concerns that you're talking about. So I know that people, you know, representing Carroll County down there are trying to address a lot of these questions and get clarity, even just like where projects can come in, and that is not successful at the moment. There's still time, but
this is not just a Carroll and a Baltimore County and a Frederick County problem.
oh, it's everywhere. I'm just
Well, it's not, but it's a problem for everybody that turns on a light switch.
Absolutely.
Because of the cost of what they're doing and they're going to do, that's going to go back through the ratepayers. And the very group that's pushing the power lines, they now are using our message about rates, and they're saying, oh, if you don't do this, your rates will go up. Well, if we don't do something to address the issue of the major power users, that you're probably right. This doesn't have to be the answer, but they're pretty much using the message, oh, you've got to do this or else. No, it's going to happen if we continue down this path.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's a state issue, but it's like everybody keeps looking at everybody else saying it's someone else's issue, but we've got to figure out, and I've got a call in with Congressman Olszewski's office. He testified in front of Congress a month or two ago. We watched the testimony. He was excellent. And I was giving him an update the other day because we want to keep him in the loop because they've got 1,000 other things. And he was very impressive in his comments about the power line to the Committee of Jurisdiction in the Congress. And I forget which committee it was. But even some people that you wouldn't expect, they were asking questions and listening. So it's just becoming, like, rising to the surface, at least in Congress. But I appreciate him continuing to keep that, the pressure on, and we got to keep feeding them some of our information so they can help support what we're doing.
And former Delegate Lasanti is very on top of these issues at all levels of government, so it may make sense to continue the conversation that you had and that I've had with her separately in the interim to figure out what we can do at each level of government on these topics to try to solve some of the problems that remain on the table.
You can check with her. She owes me she was going to send me some attachments. I haven't gotten to
I'll
talk to
check with her.
Saturday.
Yeah, she
Thank-
called me yesterday
Because
and
it's
we
nice
played
to-
phone tag, so I'll check in and ask her to send that
She
to
might
you.
have some ideas that we
I'm
haven't
sure
thought
she does. She's told me a number of things as well that she was thinking and that she's been working on, so I will regroup with her to see where they stand, and then we'll talk, and I'll make sure you
And
get
that's
your
something you can
email.
do we can do in the interim as well. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Because unfortunately, a lot of what happens during the session is movement in a direction. So a lot of what has actually happened this session, even for policy issues that have just remained stagnant at the moment and not moved forward, it's gotten things on the table. And given that there's an upcoming election, you know, it was expected that 80% of the bills were not going to pass. It was expected that a lot of the controversial topics were going to stay where they are. But it looks like in the next session and the years to come, you know, issues like Blueprint and some of the really controversial issues are going to have to be addressed, because when you look at the out years for the budget and all of these topics, there's going to be a lot to say and a lot to do, and preparation is going to be key. So we'll definitely have to prioritize the things that, you know, we can impact the most and try to work across each level of government to connect the dots and advocate and speak about all of the topics that we can move
Well,
forward
and
more
this topic,
meaningfully.
I mean, we're keeping it on the forefront.
Right.
However, the governor was very attentive back in the fall, but I haven't heard much about it since then. And, you know, his direction would be helpful to the legislature, you know, about where to go, and just with some direction. So
Yes.
hopefully we can get that conversation back going again.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to and I wanted to bring one thing up because it's a perfect time to do it. We're talking about legislation. I think all the members of this board are aware, and probably a lot of members of the public, about this issue of the Maryland State education budget going to fund students that aren't in school. And it's to the tune of $318 million that are being paid for kids that aren't even in school. And this board has discussed it on numerous occasions about trying to get accurate counts of what's in our school system. And we've lamented how we do it in September, and it's usually not an accurate number. Well, interestingly enough, and I just really wanted to highlight this because we're talking about our delegation and what they're trying to do, and I know there's a lot of bills that our delegations put forward, the ones that show up to do the job, and they don't pass.
Yes.
I wanted to highlight the Education Funding Accuracy Act, which was put forth by Delegate April Rose, and it would have mandated to count students in September and again in the spring. And you'd get a much more accurate count, which makes perfect sense. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Her bill didn't even get out of a committee. It didn't even get out of a committee. We're talking about $318 million. So, I mean, again, I just taken this opportunity to, vent a little bit of frustration. I think the other four my colleagues would agree with me. It's just simple things like that, and we can't even get that done. So I think your comment about these issues having to be dealt with at some point, I think we all hope they are, and it's all about money. And it's going to be whether we want to manage our money better, or maybe we just want to take more from people to pay for some of these inaccuracies and these mistakes. So, but I wanted to highlight that bill. Fox 45 had a story on it yesterday. Chris Papps does a great job following education issues. But my compliments to Delegate Rose for putting that forward. The most common sense bill I think I've ever seen in Annapolis, maybe. In terms of education, and it didn't even make it past committee.
Well, let me just give you a little history. That was Delegate Stocksdale's bill to begin with many years ago, twice a year, and then you take the average.
Yeah.
And she was a teacher for 30-some years, and she was passionate about you can't teach kids if they don't show up for school. And it's basically how do we keep kids in school. She had that in a number of years. Delegate Rose picked it up, and then COVID hit, and it's hard to do with COVID, and then she's brought that back. The pushback is unbelievable, but the bottom line is how do we encourage people, the parents, whatever you need to get. We have very good attendance in Carroll County. It's dropped a little bit, but we have some of the best attendance in the state. That's why we have good results, because teachers can't teach kids that aren't there. So it is a good common sense bill, and it might take incentives. It might take incentives for parents or disincentives to get their kids to school, because it's their responsibility. It's not the teacher's responsibility, but it's also the school system's responsibility to follow up and make sure. But some kids are so disruptive in some of these schools, they don't really care. They almost rather have them out, and that's why I think a number of years ago they put in disincentives to suspension, because suspension, it's easy, get rid of kids.
Yeah.
Have in-school suspension where they have to show up and sit by themselves versus who wouldn't want to be home for another day? So, we were using the wrong type of incentive to suspend a kid. Disincentive, because who would want to?
Consequence.
Wrong kind of punishment, because if
yeah.
you already don't want to go to school.
Right, you're not going.
Telling me not to go to school sounds like a good plan.
Or even for other reasons. But my point is, some students, unfortunately, are so unruly and disruptive that they almost would rather them not come back to school. And it's not necessarily here, but so I'm just, I don't need a commentary. I'm just mentioning
Yes.
the background on this. And Delegate Rose, it is frustrating, and she took it up because she is on the committee that does that, or she was for years on the committee that did education. And all the school systems push back because their average is, almost every school system loses some, and it would be an average of the two numbers. But, the worst performing school districts have the worst attendance, and it's obviously a direct relationship.
Right. So it might be a package of bills that might be the solution to look at, what the consequences are, because I can see, just looking at all the different things that you're sharing and things that I've heard in some of the debates on these issues. So I think one of the other things to think about is who can we partner with that would help round out some of the issues that matter most that we're talking about in other jurisdictions, as well as bipartisanship, because if we can come in with multiple counties, and this is what MACO does, but sometimes even in smaller cohorts. So we shouldn't just rely on MACO, but if we can find, Republicans and Democrats and several different jurisdictions around the state just to come in to testify just in addition to or instead of, depending where Mako lands on issues, I think that's the kind of thing that's really going to help move things forward. And Mako's very good about reaching out and saying, we need people. But I think that we can also help do that as well for the things that are going to make a bigger difference, at least in Carroll County, because we can't necessarily impact everywhere else. But that was a good bill to note, and I did see what was happening with that. And I think as far as the disincentives, there's a lot of psychology behind, kids and consequences. So we need to make sure we have the right stakeholders at these conversations, because like I know in dealing with my kids and other kids that I know, like they don't always have the capacity to care even. And as adults, we're making policies sometimes that aren't meaningful to children because their brains aren't developed there yet.
That's why they have parents. Okay.
They do. But, it's just things to, I think, are important to kind of look at holistically with who else in the community can we partner with who are experts in these areas to round out some of the negative arguments that are holding things back so that we can either tweak what is being introduced or have an argument to get up in front of and be proactive and say, okay, we recognize this is why this hasn't passed in other sessions, but here's why maybe we have a chance now.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or
conversation?
any other questions or comments? Pam, thank you very much as
Thank you.
always.
See you soon.
Up next, we have contract award for owner's representative consultant for the Piney Run Dam. Carrie, Chris, how are you both today?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Morning. Doing well, thank you very much.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Planning and Land Management, requests your approval to award a contract for an owner's representative consultant for the Piney Run Dam to AECOM in the amount of $75,000. In 2018, AECOM was awarded a contract through a competitive solicitation process to develop a plan for the county per the requirements outlined in the Natural Resources Conservation Service Title 390 National Watershed Program Manual. This contract will be awarded as a single-source procurement due to AECOM having developed the plan and their understanding of the scope of work, along with the timeline the county must adhere to with NRCS for further phases of the project.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. So we've been before you to talk about Piney Run several times, but I'll just give a quick update and refresh. So the Maryland Department of the Environment is the regulatory authority in the state regarding dams. And back in 2018, they notified the county that they were concerned that Piney Run had some may not meet current design requirements. So they directed us to study the dam, see if their concerns were founded or not, and if there were issues that we would have to mitigate them. So the dam was built in the early 1970s in cooperation with NRCS. And so NRCS has a federal program, their federal agency has a program for rehabilitation of their dams that they helped build. So we applied for funding with them, and we were one of the few dams across the nation who did get accepted into the program. So they funded the first phase of work, which was the watershed study. It was a little bit more than $500,000, and as Carrie mentioned, that we went through an open procurement and selected AECOM as the consultant to do that work. So we've been working with AECOM for about 5 years now to work through that study and identify the issues and so on. So we're now ready to do the second phase, which is design and permitting. And NRCS has indicated that they have obligated close to $1 million for the county to support the design and permitting side of the project. However, the next steps that we have to do, we have to put together a scope and procure a design consultant to do that work. And that needs to both address all of the county concerns as well as meet all the requirements for NRCS. And that needs to be done over the next couple months. And then following that, we will need to, as with any project, need to have technical resources to answer questions, work with the design consultant, and so on and so forth. And right now, we just don't have those resources available to develop that scope and work through that process and so on. So we approached AECOM, since we've been working with them for 5 years, to see if they would work with us as an owner's representative, basically represent the county in this ongoing work that will help bring the dam up to the design requirements that MDE requires. right? So their first order of business would be to develop the scope of work, the design work, work with NRCS and so on, work with Carrie and our office to do the procurement for a design consultant, get the application in with NRCS and so on, so we can get that $1 million to support the design work. And then represent the county through the design process because they have the technical expertise to help guide the design consultant through that. So it's kind of an open-end sort of contract in that we don't have a defined scope and product and so on, but in discussion with them, they estimate that over the next probably 2 years, it's about $75,000 worth of work. It would be a cost-plus type contract where we would only use them as much as we need them to, but we definitely need their technical expertise and resources to help us get through this next phase. So happy to answer any questions.
Chris, I just want to
Yes.
thank you for acknowledging when there's expertise needed. Because this is like a one-off. You know, this is something happens once every 50 years or something. So having
Literally.
someone that it can really focus on it, be our representative, and follow it through, it's a wise use of our money, I believe, and it frees you up to do the things that you need to do.
Yes.
Also, I want to thank you. There was, whoever's listening, sometimes rumors come around, and if they do, just email us and ask us, and thank you for answering quickly. There was a rumor that it was going to be a wastewater treatment plant or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm not sure where that came from, but yes.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You never know.
Yes.
And I appreciate you answering right away. And
Absolutely.
appreciate the person asking. I also appreciate putting this stuff here on the paper because it explains it. And then somebody could look at it instead of have to imagine that it could be a wastewater treatment. They can read this and say what's the purpose of it.
Yes.
So all of those things are good. So because of that, unless somebody has any other questions, I move that the Board of Commissioners award the contract for owner's representative consultant for the Piney Run Dam project to AECom in the amount of $75,000.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, we have a grant approval to submit application and acceptance of award for FY26 MIMS Advanced Life Support or ALS funding. Chief, good morning.
Morning, Chief.
Morning. Annually, the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Services Systems, which is the state EMS agency, offers the opportunity to apply for educational grants for our paramedic training. As an eligible applicant, Carroll County Department of Fire and EMS is requesting to apply for and accept this grant. The good news is this is for 100% funding. There's no match required. The county will submit invoices for the ALS training and receive reimbursement through MIMS. The funds will be used in concert with the Carroll Community College to develop and deliver paramedic continuing education for both career and volunteer paramedics. The total amount of the grant is for $10,445.19.
And I think that's the more important, this is all important, but this is for both career and
Yes.
volunteer.
Yes.
So that's awesome.
Yes, so everybody that is licensed as a paramedic in Maryland were required every 2 years to go through 60 hours of continuing education. So this would fund that, and the college and our people would be the actual instructors.
And also, in this particular situation, I want to thank the state for funding what they've required. That doesn't happen very often. And the fact that we don't have to put any in, except the
Yes.
time, is good. I've always said, when I first ran for office, I called it unfunded mandates, state mandates, and everybody's like, what's that? Well, now we all know what it is. That was many, many years ago. So thank you for going after the grant, and you want to do it?
Oh, sure, yeah. Commissioner Gordon's okay with me.
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding. I move the Board of County Commissioners approve the submission of the FY26 ALS funding grant application and accept the award.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very
you,
much,
Chief.
Chief. Up next, we have approval to submit application and acceptance of award for the FY27 Community Partnership Agreement. Morning, Celine. Morning, Ed. How are you both today?
Morning.
Doing great, thanks.
Nice tie, Ed.
Yeah, thank you.
Where's your Easter bunnies? He's got his Easter bunnies on.
I can't compete with Tim.
Yes, you can.
Now I know what I'm getting at for Easter. All right. So thank you for having us. We are here again, as you said, to seek approval to submit our application and acceptance of the award for the FY27 Community Partnership Agreement. I'm Celine Steckel, the Director of Citizen Services, joined with our Local Management Board Manager, Ed Singer. A little bit of the background, our local management board is requesting FY27 funding from the Governor's Office for Children to support the 3 local programs of the Family Preservation Program, which we are increasing the capacity of that with this award, the Suicide Intervention and Prevention Services Program, as well as our Housing Navigation and Stability Services. And we will also be supporting opportunities in the community with other initiatives, a required systems change initiative, and the continued funding of the local care team and the local management board administration. I'm going to turn it over to Ed to give us some additional details of these programs and services that this funding would support.
Good morning, Commissioners. We went through we're kind of, the way we've set things up with the local management board now is, I'm looking at us doing things essentially in a 5-year cycle where we do our community assessment and then that carries us through a 5-year period where we prioritize what's needed in the community to provide the best supports for family, youth, and children. The one thing that rose to the top, we quite frequently use family preservation as a tool for families that are in crisis. And what's good about this program is the therapists actually go out to the families and go to the home. They get to see what's happening in the home. It's just very successful in helping us with some of our most difficult families. And quite frequently, YSB has had a 4 to 6 week wait period to be able to get into these services. So this year, the local management board, as we prioritize things, we really wanted to expand these services so there wouldn't be a wait time for families to get into this. And often we'd lose families that wouldn't ultimately engage, or they'd wind up having to have a child admitted to a hospital or things like that. So it's a prevention thing to try to help get the family stabilized so that we don't wind up without a home placements of children. So really excited to have that as a new part of our grant application this year. The Suicide Intervention and Prevention Program's a continuing program. Unfortunately, that continues to be a huge issue here. The data shows that suicidal ideation is one of our largest problems amongst our school-age kids, and you know, a lot of these youth that are considering suicide, they wind up going to the emergency department, and they don't meet admission requirements, and they don't get, you know, ultimately they're discharged back to the parents. And this program has really given an opportunity for us to help the families navigate, get the youth assessed, come up with safety plans and things of that nature. And there's also other support groups that go along with this program, but it definitely is a very high priority for us. And then our youth housing stability and navigation services just try to help our youth that are really the ones that are 16 to like 24 that are out on their own for the first time because their families, you know, essentially you turn 18, you're out the door. Trying to help get them stably housed, help them with looking for a career path, whatever else that they need to support them in becoming stably housed and successful adults is essentially what this program does. And it's been extremely successful, and I keep, you know, we keep bragging about it. The program's been in existence for about 5 years, and only one of the, we've only had one couple in the entire time that the program's been in existence that have returned to homelessness after being housed through this program. So we're really happy with how that program's running. The other piece, talking about these community initiatives, we've really been engaged with our high poverty areas through the Enough Act, and it's kind of a blending and braiding of community partnership dollars and Enough Act dollars. They both come through the governor's office for children, but we get less of this and more of this, and trying to figure out how to make everything work. But I'm really excited about the resource fair that we're going to be having out in Union Bridge. There are a lot of grassroots organizations. Not only do we have the organizations from that are typically our nonprofits that we see here in Westminster coming, but there are a lot of smaller organizations from Union Bridge that have reached out to us and said, we want to be a part of this. And it's all about trying to make sure that the resources are available to our most vulnerable citizens in Carroll County. And we're also co-sponsoring a homelessness summit in May through the CPA. So that's this year's money, what it's going towards, and what we're going to be looking at is, based on what the outcome is of some of these things, is where are our next steps? How do we help support organizations in making these connections better in the community and making the services work better for our families? And it can be anything from the Boys and Girls Club providing something, or the library system. We've got all those kind of things up to your behavioral health providers. So essentially, we're looking for your permission to submit the application and accept the award. We'll also be followed by the family preservation and the suicide intervention and prevention services were put out for bid. As I said, this 5-year cycle, we would intend to, as long as the funding is approved through GOC, continuing for the next 5 years, we would think that we would contract with these programs over the next 5 years to continue those, and until we do our next assessment, and then we'll see what we need at that point in time. So we'll be followed by approving the contracts for those services. So if I think that's it for me, unless you all have any questions.
I did want to point out there is also county match tied to this, which has been submitted as part of our operating budget to pay for some of the staff salaries. And it's about $86,000, and that is noted on the budget page.
That's right.
I move the Board of County Commissioners approve the submission of the FY 2017 Community Partnership Agreement application and accept the award.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just to be clear, 2027.
That's at 27. FY 27, yes.
Yeah, just,
I just
I
want to
heard something different, just want to make sure.
Nope, FY 27.
Yeah,
I just
good.
want to make, all these initiatives are fantastic. The one I just want to point out is number 2, the suicide intervention and prevention services. We have a very high suicide rate in the county, and we don't really talk about it a lot, but it's higher than most, and it's not it's not necessarily in some of the populations you would think. It's in just all populations, and it's lots of root causes. Some of it is social media. You can break up with a girlfriend or boyfriend and cause problems, and there's senior suicide. So all these other issues are hopefully going to help with the suicide intervention, but it is something that is real, and it's real to everybody's families. It just happens. It's in this wonderful country that we live in with so much. You would think, how could this be? But it is. So we've got to address it. But I've been asking about 988. We've got to make sure that is out there, not when there's a crisis, because that's when you still have calling the sheriff. But there are services available. If you don't know what they are, you call 988 and they'll get you to the right place. But the number of, we're doing a lot for youth, which is great, but our senior population is growing. We keep talking about it. And the suicide rate among senior population, depression, is very high. And you're going to find, I know my colleagues know, I'm a fanatic about senior housing and having communities and not just houses to live in, but sense of community to take care of each other. That's what's going to help this. That for the aging population is having that type of people to help each other in a way that we can make that occur. But on the suicide, please, everybody, it shouldn't be a stigma. Everybody's been in bad situations before over dumb things. But we've got the 988 helpline, we got help here, and we just got to, if you even think someone is, we've had some very significant high-profile cases in the last just few weeks that you wouldn't expect, and it's just so sad, it breaks my heart. So just bring it to people's attention, and thank you for all these other things. We'll help with that and other, but that's the end result of some of these.
Very well said, Commissioner.
I
Very well said.
appreciate you bringing that up this morning. I was going to ask a question, and I know this is not an easy question to answer, and maybe we'll have to talk afterwards. In regards to the suicide numbers, I know, I don't know, I guess it was 4 or 8 years ago, whatever it was, with when I was on the board of Boys and Girls Club, this was a conversation we were hearing consistently about the rates in this county being the highest among youth. Do we have any idea why that is? I mean, I know that's a huge, broad question, but I'm just kind of curious, why Carroll County? I couldn't.
We've had a lot of discussion about that amongst the board. I don't know. I guess people, we don't know, to be quite honest about it. I mean, people theorize whether, are we putting our kids under just too much pressure or expectations? I really can't tell you. And it's the data that we have comes from it's a survey they do in the schools.
The youth risk assessment, or the youth risk and needs assessment.
Yeah, it's a survey that they do in school. Now, we do have and I guess the last 3 months were particularly bad for us for completed and attempted suicides in Carroll County. That was just presented at the most recent overdose. Overdose numbers it was presented with the overdose numbers, but these were intentional overdoses that were presented, and they were particularly bad the last few months. I don't know what we can do to really, I guess, do away with the problem that people are thinking about committing suicide. But I think the best thing we can do, and by having this program, it gives us a resource to try to help assess folks, and again, as I said, come up with a safety plan to try to deal with the issue once that thought's in their head, and it's. I wish I had an answer as to what we could do to try to not to have people even think about it, but I don't know how we get there.
No, I understand. Like I said, I know it's a really wide or broad question to ask. It's just, to me, when I think of, and I'm not trying to compare us to other counties, but I am going to for a second. But, when you think of why Carroll County, and that's always my question, what's the why? Because I know you, when you were a delegate at the time, you were involved with us at the Boys and Girls Club with one of the campaigns we were doing, and that kept coming up, and it's just, that has always bothered me quite heavily, because I'm not suggesting there's a one reason, but it's just sort of, I wonder why this county, we know there's a lot of factors that go into that situation.
Well, I think you talked about the youth risk assessment. That assessment, the data lags, so it's like a couple-year-old data. And it was put out years ago about smoking cigarettes and things like that. And so it gives you a point in time that's always lagging. When I was talking to the sheriff last night, we've had a couple, and they're not youth, they're 20s, 60s. We've had 2 jump off of a bridge. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible, terrible. It breaks my heart. And they weren't kids. So do we ever collect not just those kind of assessments, but like the people on the scene? They sort of might know they were bullied on Facebook, or they had a problem with a breakup, or they were lonely, and can we collect that just anecdotally from the people on the scene and try to get a view of who they are, what the circumstances may have been? It's self-reported almost from a report, but it would give us some more real-time data of who it is, where it's coming from, what their situation was. And I don't know if it's one thing, but at least we can address some of those issues.
Right. And I think there is a way to work with law enforcement to collect some of that detail, because I know that's another stumbling block, because some of these aren't identified as suicide immediately, because there has to be the investigation to then identify that actually was the cause of death.
And it doesn't have to be a name associated with it, but at least we'd have that data pool and talk to their families and what it could be. And sometimes they might have an idea, sometimes they don't, but it would at least give us some ideas what brought you to this. Because if we don't know that, and that I think that information is so old, it's not really, it used to be like 3 years old, now I think they've made it 2 years old, but it's more about, do you use cannabis, do you use drugs, and it's not the real, it's not the information that we necessarily need.
One of the things I was going to say, one of the things that they've done with this suicide intervention and prevention services, they added a postvention piece to work with the families, and I don't know that we've looked at the whys so much. It's it's to help the families get through the fact that happened with their loved one and
No, but at least those kind of things you could pull data from, even the 988 calls possibly, again, doesn't have to be identifiable, it shouldn't be identified, but you would have an idea, even for the attempts, what the situation was, what caused it. And then we'd have some underlying, if there's a trend or if there's not a trend. And it could be different things for different folks.
And they do have the detail that they can provide from the 988 calls about
But
the
do we collect
callers.
that? Do we collect it and provide, like,
And the Suicide Prevention Coalition that the Health Department runs, that group has large discussions and are monitoring these pieces as well. So we can certainly pull together with them and look at more of the data, and maybe have a presentation at one
and
of our
share it
local
with the
management
people,
board
school
meetings.
system. But I used to serve on the Suicide Prevention Coalition for the state, and we didn't have the data. And that's one of the reasons that, we're like, okay, we know this is a problem, but we don't even have any, we didn't know where to start. But now that we have the ability to start collecting it, that's one of the reasons 988 became
Sure.
available.
And also with the 988, just to give that a plug, if anyone needs marketing materials, the health department still receives some of those for distribution. When we go out to events, we're still distributing them from, even our department has some. And I know Commissioner Guerin used to be one of our ambassadors for the 988 program as it was rolling out. So it's definitely out there among folks. It's just sometimes until somebody has that need, they're not thinking about using it, so they might not have been really looking at the messaging about the why. So that's the important piece, to make sure that everybody knows about it.
And the health department will send people out, like to the Lions Club and the Rotary Club, and they bring little tchotchkes with them. So it's a way to get the information out.
For sure.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further commentary or discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you.
Happy Easter.
I was going to say, you can't leave just
Moving
yet.
over one.
Oh, you're moving over one. Make room for.
Up next, contract award for family preservation services. Morning, Corey.
Morning. How we doing? The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Citizen Services, requests your approval to award a contract for family preservation services to Carroll County Youth Service Bureau in the amount of $275,000. Proposals were solicited on the county's e-procurement platform, Public Purchase, and 4 proposals were received in response. An evaluation committee was formed to conduct technical and financial review of the proposals submitted. The committee evaluated the proposals based on the criteria detailed in the RFP. The highest-ranked provider for this project is Carroll County Youth Service Bureau. This project is funded through Carroll County's allocation of the Maryland Children's Cabinet Integracy Fund. The amount is approved within the FY26 adopted budget.
I move the Board of Commissioners award a contract for family preservation services to the Carroll County Youth Service Bureau in the amount of $275,000.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. No going away just yet. Contract award now for suicide intervention and prevention services.
I don't think this board's at all interested in that.
Sorry I was premature, but
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Citizen Services, requests your approval to award a contract for suicide intervention and prevention services to Carroll County Youth Service Bureau in the amount of $107,000. Proposals were solicited on the county's e-procurement platform, Public Purchase, and 1 proposal was received in response. An evaluation committee was formed to conduct technical and financial review of the proposals submitted. The committee evaluated the proposal based on criteria detailed in the RFP. This project is funded through Carroll County's allocation of the Maryland Children's Cabinet Integracy Fund. The amount is within the FY26 adopted budget.
I move the Board of County Commissioners award a contract for suicide intervention and prevention services to Carroll County Youth Service Bureau in the amount of $107,000.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now Corey's got to stay with us. Up next, contract award for 2026 hot mix asphalt paving.
Before I get started, there is a change in the amount that we are requesting. The amount on your paper
is now going to be $6,880,985.60. That is due to the newly released asphalt index. And I don't know if Chris wants to talk more about
Yeah,
it.
I can
I'm
explain.
sorry, just, so one more time, just so we have it, $6,880,985.60.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, and
Oh, good to see you.
Good morning.
in an effort to be proactive, we wanted to ask for this increase in the spending authority for the project. Early this morning, actually I checked at 6:30, they hadn't released it. A little bit later, they released the April asphalt index, and it had increased to 787.50 from 600 in March when this contract was bid. And based on the liquid asphalt content in the contract, we estimate the increase in the contract will be $370,000. We already had $160,000 programmed in the contract for a potential increase. So we need the additional $210,000 to cover that. We hope that we don't have to spend all that and that the price comes down, and but if we were to put this asphalt in the month of April, we would be contractually obligated. Now, on the flip side, if we bid a contract in April and we put it down in June and the price comes down by 100, we get a credit. We follow the state highways process for determining that asphalt adjustment for that. So that's why the increase. The last time we saw numbers like this were in July and August of 2022, and prior to that was August of 2008. So these are some pretty large numbers for us.
Any questions, comments, or direction from the board?
I mean, that doesn't change the bid. I mean, so Laney would come, theirs would be risen as well by the same amount of.
They would be, yes.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Engineering, requests your approval to award a contract for the 2026 hot mix asphalt paving number 1 to Gray and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $6,880,985.60. The Division of Engineering solicited bids on the county's e-procurement platform public purchase. This work consists of paving approximately 18 miles on 45 county roadways. This amount is within the FY26 adopted budget.
So this project includes roadways such as Deep Run Road, Leidy Road, Old Bachman's Valley Road, Sullivan Road, and Upper Beckleysville Road, totaling the 18 miles. We're going to perform full-depth reclamation, milling of the pavement, placement of hot mix asphalt-based surface courses, replacing inlet storm drains, rebuilding inlets, shoulder backup, mains to traffic, and other incidental items. We've included 120 working days, and Gray & Sons has completed similar work for us in the past. We do have some pipe work to complete before we can get started on some of these roadways, but we hope to get started as soon as we can.
I move the Board of Commissioners award a contract for 2026 hot mix asphalt paving to Gray and Son, Inc. in the amount of $6,880,985.60.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have spending authority on recovered materials operations and transfer. Morning, gentlemen. Good to see you guys.
Good morning.
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 The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Solid Waste, requests your approval to spend up to but not to exceed $79,050.80 for recovered materials operations and transfer. Balsam LLC performs the scope of work under the authority contract. The funds are available within the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. Through Carroll County's membership in the Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority, we hold a contract with Balsam LLC to load and transport recyclables from our transfer station to the Waste Management Recycle America processing facility in Elkridge, Maryland. The Balsam invoice for recyclables that were transferred in May of 2025 was received after the process deadline and was inadvertently then not processed before fiscal 25 closeout. So this is kind of a mea culpa, type of presentation to the board. Since we are now in fiscal '26, we respectfully request board approval to pay the outstanding May 2025 BALSAM invoice.
Any questions, comments, or direction from the board?
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the spending authority for recoverable materials, loading, and transfer to Balsam LLC in the amount of $79,050.80.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Up next, we will move into the public comment portion of our agenda. Roberta, do we have anybody here for public comment?
I think this gentleman here has got something.
Okay.
You want to give it to Ms. Wyndham, and then you can, you're welcome to speak. You can, yeah, the microphone right behind you. The one, yeah, there you go.
Mr. Regard? Regnard? Okay, it's just hard to read, sorry.
Please.
Okay, a little nervous. First, thank you. And my name is Jean-Baptiste Regnard. Okay, on January 19th of this year, the lives of everyone in my small family was changed forever. We had been enjoying the snowy day at our home in Manchester with our beloved dog, Lionel. We were about to find out that our neighbor had failed to secure the invisible fence collar on her dog. Without a warning, without a bark, without a sound, her dog attacked my spouse and killed our dog. One absent-minded mistake of a careless neighbor who has repeatedly been unable to control her animals plunged our lives into immeasurable sadness and continues to affect our mental well-being. We moved to Carroll County to be left alone and not bother anybody, and now we're dealing with upwards of 6 doctor's visits a week, dealing with the injuries. The anger and depression we feel every moment of our waking days is still throbbing, and it's what's motivating me to be here today. The day after our Lionel was killed, we called animal control, who eventually labeled the neighbor's dog as vicious. When I asked the animal control officer how the neighbors reacted to that news, they didn't divulge too many specifics, but stressed that she was highly annoyed. So while my spouse and I are in deep mourning over this horrible attack, our neighbor is openly displaying her displeasure that she's now required to be held accountable for her dog. After the incident, I realized what happened to us is a legitimate public safety issue, and the citizens and workers of Carroll County are at unnecessary risk. As we attempt to adjust our lives to this new normal, it's become crystal clear to me that this is a part of a larger public safety issue. Recently, when I began to share the details of what happened to our beloved mail lady and our beloved delivery drivers, I asked them all if they're given notice if a vicious dog is on their route, and they all said no. So, for a dog to be labeled as vicious, a devastating accident must have occurred. The law as it stands is incomplete. This is very clear. I propose that all dog owners who have dogs labeled as vicious must have a sign on their property warning others to this potential danger. If time, effort, and money is being spent by the county government to give this dog such a designation, but not alerting to the public, then the law is incomplete. By enacting this change, this will allow the public to be aware of the potential dangers of allowing their children to ride their bikes past certain houses. It will let the public decide that maybe they should change their jogging route or walking route to avoid the potential risk. It will allow our beloved mail lady to be even more aware of her surroundings. Giving our fellow neighbors and friends that just one bit of warning that they are near a property line where a vicious dog lives is common sense and must be enacted to law.
Well, thank you very much for your comments, and would you please be so kind as to email them to us as well so we can reflect on them and we have a chance to better digest them?
Yes,
okay.
And if you could include if you followed up just the details of, you said you connected with Humane Society.
Animal Control.
Animal Control, and what they did, and just, because I just visited there and there are steps they can take, just whatever happened after that, just put it in writing.
We've installed a security camera, and we have caught them 4 weeks after the incident having their dog off leash. We got it a camera, but they said that they spoke to the county attorney who wasn't willing to pursue anything.
The state's attorney?
I'm not an expert, but
just
whatever.
Put it in, we'll follow up. Just write it in, put all that in an email and just as much information as you can, and just send it to the commissioners at Carroll County, Maryland, MD.
I think Ms. Wyndham's given you all that information,
I
sir.
appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming
it.
in.
Appreciate it.
Sorry.
Roberta, do we have anybody else here for public comment?
No, sir.
Chris, do we have anybody on the line for public comment?
Yes, sir. We have one caller on the line. Caller, you can use *6 to unmute. You'll have your 3 minutes. Please identify yourself and tell us your address. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Adelaide, one of 9 members of the Carroll County Republican Central Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. I am truly sorry. My condolences to the gentleman who just spoke as the owner of a service animal, most of whom you know is Sugar, who was attacked, thankfully, by the German Shepherd had a muzzle on, or he would have been no more. So that is just a terrible story. I'm glad you're going to follow up on it. Okay, let me move along here. I was going to give you all a break because I'm really trying to dig in spiritually into Holy Week. I think it's great when people show up for Easter, but if you don't get the passion of Holy Week and all the things that Jesus did during these final days, you're kind of missing out on how important the resurrection was. But anyway, the Lord put it on my heart because Maryland March for Life has been rescheduled to Monday. So this is my final opportunity to get that out there. Let me back up for just a second. Carroll County Republican Central Committee, we held our meeting on last Thursday. We've got the primary coming up on June 23rd. Early voting is June 11th through the 18th. We need election judges and poll watchers. Go to ccgop.net for poll watchers. Go to the Board of Elections for election judges. The committee is working on our summer carnivals, which is how we support our candidates. We know you come out and support us. We'll have more information about that, and also our summer picnic, which was very successful last year. Okay, but mainly I want to give a very big pro-life report today, beginning with the Maryland March for Life, as I said, has been rescheduled in full to Easter Monday, April 6th. I'm very happy about that. That's answered prayer. Carroll County Right to Life will be there with our amazing banner, which you all could see from across the room when you came to the legislative breakfast, so I'm be proud to be holding that. All of the events are the same. They weren't able to reschedule the bus, so people are going to have to get down there on their own. But I encourage everybody to please come to Annapolis on Monday, April 6th, and participate in the Maryland March for Life. Okay, at Maryland Right to Life, Sine Die, as you know, is coming up April 13th. We have a lot of bills. None of the pro-life bills, of course, made it out. I'll be attending the quarterly meeting on Saturday, April 11th. And the good news of my own personal pro-life journey with my soon-to-be great-grandchild is my kids did a gender reveal on Palm Sunday. Mommy was pretty in pink. My grandson wore blue. He plays soccer. She threw the soccer ball at him, and he kicked it, and it exploded with blue powder. It was just my first gender reveal. It was really exciting. I'm so glad these 2 young people, very young people, with a unplanned pregnancy are just going whole hog and celebrating every bit of it, and I'm right there with them. Let's see, Carroll County Right to Life. I just want to give a big shout out to Stephen Leon for all of his work. I'm running out of time here. Happy Passover began last night at sundown. There's an ecumenical community crosswalk tomorrow from 11 to 12 that I will be attending. St. John's has Stations of the Cross at noon, and it's the final night of the Living Cross at Church of the Open Door at 7 p.m. So I encourage everybody to really pray and take a moment to reflect before Easter Sunday and understand what Jesus did for all of us. Thank you all, and God bless. Have a happy Easter.
Thank you very much. Chris, do we have anybody else on the line?
That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Next, we'll move into open admin. Does anybody have anything for open admin this morning? Still morning.
I just wanted to mention tomorrow is Good Friday, and the Carroll County Office Building is closed. And so for all the employees and staff and everybody, have a great weekend.
Very well said. Anything else for admin open? All right, hearing nothing, we'll move into agenda review. Good morning, Wanda. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So up first, the week of Monday, April 6th. So Monday, April 6th shows nothing on the formal calendar. Tuesday, April 7th, we will be in closed work session for the budget. At 6 o'clock p.m., the second annual DFEMS award ceremony in Union Bridge. All 5 of us are slated to attend. And then the Manchester Valley Girls Basketball Banquet with Commissioner Kyler. On Wednesday, April 8th, 9:30 a.m., Farm Museum Advisory Board meeting. I will be attending that. Turn the page here. Thursday, April 9th, 8 o'clock a.m., closed admin for the commissioners. 9 o'clock a.m., open session begins. Item number 1, Priority Carol with Miss Catherine Nordvet. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that name. Who will be attending with, these are the homeschool students who will be attending. Okay. Followed by Public Safety Telecommunicators Week proclamation. Followed by item number 2, our weekly public legislative update with Pam. Item number 3, a public hearing for the proposed extension of deferral on self-storage facilities in the Freedom area for an additional 6 months. Item number 4, approval to submit application and acceptance of award for the FY27 Homelessness Solutions Program. Item number 5, approval to submit application and acceptance of award for the FY 2027 to FY 2030 Area Plan and Individual Grant for the Division of Aging and Disabilities. Item number 6, contract renewal for VMware and vSphere subscription. Item number 7, recommended FY 27 water and sewer rates. Item number 8, approval to purchase one side entry conversion van. Item number 9, work session on road design and traffic impact studies, and there is no public comment on that. It's slated to last an hour. That will be followed by public comment, administrative open, agenda review, and then at 1 o'clock p.m. we will be going into a closed budget work session. Friday, April 10th shows nothing. Saturday, April 11th is the Christian Farmers Outreach 37th Annual Luncheon, and then Sunday, April 12th, Commissioner Krebs has the podcast. Are there any corrections, alterations, or amendments to week 1?
No, but I'll tell Chris I never did the podcast last time, so I have to update it. I had it all written and never got time to do it.
Oh, you're set for next time.
But I think it's out of date because I was talking about the budget. Anyway, but I will look at it.
All right. Anything else for the first week? All right, moving into the week of Monday, April 13th. Monday, April 13th, Veterans Book Club at the Carroll County Public Library in Finksburg with Commissioner Kyler. Tuesday, April 14th, we will be an all-day closed budget work session. At 7 o'clock p.m., Carroll County 4-H Achievement Program with Commissioner Kyler. On Wednesday, April 15th, the Carroll County Circuit Court Adult Drug Treatment Graduation, Commissioners Kyler and Krebs. That's at 4:30 p.m.
Wanda, if you could, please add me to that.
And Commissioner Gordon. At 5 o'clock p.m., the Carroll County Community College Board of Trustees meeting with Commissioner Kyler. And then at 7 o'clock p.m., the Emergency Services Advisory Council with Commissioner Guerin. Thursday, April 16th, 8 o'clock a.m., closed admin for the Board of County Commissioners, followed at 9 o'clock a.m. by the open session beginning. Item number 1, Priority Carol, National Work Zone Awareness Week. I'm sorry.
Just laughing at that acronym, NWZAW.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Is this the one where we're outside for that one? Okay, all right. Item number 2, legislative update with Pam. Item number 3, spending authority for Prime Care Medical Incorporated. Item number 4, Chapter 158 billboards, and that is a public hearing. That will be followed by public comments, administrative session open, agenda review, and then we will be going into closed for legal and a potential litigation matter. Friday, April 17th shows nothing. Saturday, April 18th, nothing. Sunday, April 19th, Commissioner Vigliotti has the podcast. And then at 2 o'clock p.m., the Westminster Cemetery 250th plaque unveiling with Commissioner Krebs. Are there any changes, alterations, or amendments for the second week? Hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank